I can't believe you committed suicide. I cannot believe you committed suicide. How could you have done this? How could you have committed suicide?
Hi, I'm Ian Alley Seals, host of A Dangerous Podcast. Join me every week as my fearless co-host compatriots and I dig into and review some of the worst movies ever made. That's right. Tune in, strap yourself down, and prepare yourself, because this is a dangerous podcast.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Hi there, I'm Lloyd.
And I'm John, and we're from Pint Comics. As we dive into your favorite pop culture topics, we may just
Occasionally
use language that could be considered
globaloney.
What? No, I mean...
Oh, foul.
Exactly. Offensive.
No doubt. Crass.
You bet your ass.
Sophisticated.
What? No. Anyways, you get it by now. It's mostly just
gutter talk.
And one more thing. Watch out for spoilers. Sometimes we drop them like trousers. You've been warned.
Listen in.
Welcome to the Pint Movie Invitational series.
As long as the portal remains open, your world becomes my world.
All right, welcome back to another week of Pint Comics. Things are a little weird here today. I'll tell you why right off the bat. My regular co-host, the Manster, Lloyd, he has a new clause in his contract. It's called the bitch clause. And the bitch clause was caused by the fact that this is a Pint Movie Invitational episode. On a recent Pint Movie Invitational episode, Mike Butler from the Forgotten Cinema podcast chose the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. And Lloyd, being of an advanced age, wasn't like, that just isn't in his wheelhouse. We watched it, and he got very angry about having to watch it. So he was like, oh, fuck, I wish I hadn't have done that. So when our guests tonight picked the movie they picked, I informed him. He said, I'll give it a shot. He watched 20 minutes and said, there's no fucking way I'm doing that episode. So I had to reach out and get a different co-host for this episode. You know Stu from SWO Productions. He's got the Stu World Order podcast that's out right now. You should check it out. And he is also always on our Friday the 13th live streams, all that stuff. Stu, what's going on? Thanks for bailing me out.
Yeah, I have issues with Lloyd now because now I had to watch this movie, but I did. I watched it twice, actually, because we were going to record a few weeks ago, but we couldn't. So I watched it again this morning to refresh on it. And I regret all my life choices that have brought me to this point.
Wow. You watched it a second time to refresh. That is,
yeah.
I feel like I owe you like a bonus. And I feel like I owe you and your family a debt of gratitude. That's time that could have been spent doing anything else. Now, let's get to our guests. Now, before I tell you who our guests are, what happened here was, they kind of subverted this Pint of Comics episode into an episode of their own show. On their own show, they have a subseries called I Hate You Now Watch. And I think what ended up happening here was I put out the call for a Pint Movie Invitational, and it turned into somehow an I Hate You Now Watch episode. So who we got with us today is Joey and Mark from the fantastic, fabulous 300 and at this point probably 50 weeks in a row running So Wizard podcast. Guys, what's going on?
What is up, dude? I will have to say that if you let Joey pick any movie, chances are it's going to be shitty. So that's your own fault.
I was going to say, which one of you's fault is this? It's Joey's?
Yes, this is definitely Joey.
All right.
Joey, why don't you explain to everybody the movie that you picked and why the fuck you picked this movie?
Party people. Oh, hey, at least it's not Roller Gator, right? So, so my pick, Mortal Kombat: Annihilation, is one of the worst movies ever made, and I love it. I think it's hilarious. It's so fucking terrible. It's just that perfect collision of dashed hopes and bad movie combining to make a truly terrible, colossal turd. I saw it in the movie theater. I love it. I don't own it on any visual media though, so that at least is one good thing.
I don't know if they make it on any visual. I don't know.
I'm sure there's like a paper clip case DVD of it somewhere out there.
Well, if you're interested, you have HBO Max. This is on HBO Max, partially because as I release this episode this same week, the actual big budgeted reboot Mortal Kombat comes out. So why don't you do yourself a favor? Watch the first Mortal Kombat from 95, watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and then just jump right into Mortal Kombat, which I don't think has any kind of subtitle. Jump right into those. You can have a Mortal Kombat week and listen to this episode, and it'll be a whole shitload of fun, except for this movie. At the very least, I could say except for this movie.
If you watch that one first, it'll make Mortal Kombat 3, The Rise of the Machines, look a lot better.
I do want to point out a couple things. Mark, since there are two of you, you are still welcome to pick a movie, and please pick wisely, and we'll do an episode with your choice as well. And number two, I think this is funny. Joey mentioned Roller Gator, and I haven't listened to the episode yet, but he made the guys over at Home Video Hustle watch that recently, and they in their social media, they kind of put like "fuck you, Joey" kind of stuff, for making us watch Roller Gator. But what I find really funny, as I watch movies, I put them all in my Letterboxd, and I'm friends with Brent from Home Video Hustle on Letterboxd. And after I rated this, you get to see what your friends rated it. He gave this a 4. I want to know if that's an ironic 4 or if this is a real 4. And I'm going to be contacting him when this episode comes out to ask him that. I want to start real quick, though. From listening to So Wizard, I kind of feel like I know the answer to this. But Mark, you're like me, right? You're a guy that is casually a fan of video games, but not a big game player, right?
Right. I'm pretty old. So like video games came into the scene when, you could put a quarter in a machine and play like Galaga. Like that's my deal. I kind of was never super into like the playing video games at home. That was never my thing, but I love the craft of it. And I love the storytelling of video games. I just don't have the patience to up, down, right for 6 hours. I can't do that.
You're like me. You're the guy who is like, well, me, I own several, systems, but like I was the guy that never beat any game because I just didn't have the patience for that shit. I liked it until I didn't like it anymore. And then I moved on. Joey, you're a big gamer, right?
Yes and no. I think if you rewound time, if maybe you Superman flew around the earth really fast a whole bunch of times and suddenly we were like 16 or 15. I would be a huge gamer. As I've gotten older and I have kids, I don't play as much as I should. Yeah. I mean, majority of my life, I would say I'm a huge gamer. So.
All right, Stu, I'm curious. I know that you are a gamer to an extent, but
I am. I would be probably somewhere in between some of you guys and people who are actual gamers. Like I play video games a lot. I like video games a lot, but I very much am the person who I couldn't even keep track of how many games I've started playing, got 2 hours in, and either the game got too hard or too boring for me, and I just stopped. And good games that people love, like Batman Arkham City. I got 2 hours in and I was like, I'm done with this. Elder Scrolls Oblivion, I got 2 hours in, done with it. The Last of Us, I got to a point in the game where the game just kept killing me and I was like, all right, this is not fun anymore. So I play a lot, mostly Pokemon.
All right. So we all have some semblance of games in our lives that we've enjoyed, but maybe not to the level that, some people are. Mortal Kombat. This let's go into the history a little bit of Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was introduced by Midway in 1992. So that immediately I feel really old. I was a junior in high school in 1992. Wow. I graduated in 1993. This kind of, I guess I never really thought of it this way. The first Mortal Kombat movie came out in 95, and Mortal Kombat Annihilation was released on November 21st, 97. So the game was only 5 years old when this movie came out. That doesn't seem to jibe in my head. It feels like the game had been out for much longer, right? But I think the part of the reason is that the game is it's ubiquitous with the 90s. I mean, this game, the arcade version particularly, was so big. I mean, you couldn't go to an arcade or a bowling alley that had an arcade or anything and not see Mortal Kombat. I
would have to say, I want to jump in and say with how much love and care and dedication and clearly the amount of time and effort that they put into this movie, I can see how you would think that it must have come out years after the video game. No, they clearly spent a lot of time working on Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
That's not what I mean. I guess in my brain, I'm surprised that the first movie came out 3 years after the game was introduced. I mean, like Super Mario Brothers, that I've never seen that movie, but I know it's a renowned piece of shit. that was, probably like 10 or 12 years after Mario was a thing. It seems like this was fast tracked to production. Like people saw how good this movie did, how good this game did in the arcades, and threw it out there. Now, Mark, you said you were an arcade player to an extent. Was Mortal Kombat something that you would throw some quarters into?
Of course, because it's so popular. How could you not, play it a little bit? Because that's the game that everyone was playing at the time. So yeah, I definitely played it a little bit, but again, I didn't care. Like I know Sub-Zero and Scorpion are characters, and I know there was some chicks in there somewhere, but yeah, after a while, I'm like, I died. I can move on. I do appreciate I'm a huge fan of adaptations. Anytime someone says, I'm going to take the property and make it into a movie, automatically my curiosity is piqued. So I was definitely looking forward to them making a Mortal Kombat movie just to see how they were going to pull it off. I mean, the first movie.
I saw the first Mortal Kombat in the theaters, and I didn't care for it. It was, as far as memory serves, it was not to the level that this one has sunk to. But I will say that I remember leaving it and just not caring and never looking back on it. I wasn't offended by it. I'll admit I was kind of offended by this one, but we'll get to that.
You're nuts. You're out of control. That's a really bad take. That's a terrible take.
Well, let's get into a little bit more on the movie itself. The story, there's 3 story writers to this. Lawrence Kasanoff. All right. This guy is that's
a great value Lawrence Kasdan, right?
He's the great value Lawrence Kasdan, but the crazy thing about this guy is that James Cameron, who I know well enough to call Jim, he runs a company called Lightstorm Entertainment, and Lawrence Kasanoff is one of his partners. So Jimmy Cameron, Jimbo Cameron, knew the guy that had something to do with this fucking movie and didn't stop him. I don't know. I don't know what happened there, but Kasanoff has also been the executive producer on True Lies. There's the Cameron connection. Class of 1999, which is a cult film. And then I just wrote this one down because I love the title. Chud 2, Bud the Chud. Yeah, so he has something to do with that.
Starring the guy from Head of the Class. That was the greaser, tough guy.
Oh, Brian Robbins.
Yeah, Brian Robbins.
Brian Robbins became like the Nickelodeon guy. He created Good Burger and all that shit. It's crazy. So yeah, the story also by 2 guys, Joshua Wexler and John Tobias. John Tobias is a co-creator of Mortal Kombat with Ed Boon. And I found this very funny. In the 20th anniversary of Mortal Kombat in 2012, 2 separate interviews, 2 separate news medias, Boon and Tobias both separately were asked the question about the worst moment of Mortal Kombat, and they both picked Mortal Kombat Annihilation as being the worst moment of the 20 years of Mortal Kombat. So Tobias was mostly involved with the storyline, themes, and settings, Outer World, Earthrealm, all that great stuff. Screenplay is by 2 guys, Brent V. Friedman, who I've never heard of, couldn't find anything else on him, and Bryce Zabel, a writer for TV. He did, does anybody remember the Fox television show? It was on, I think, after or before the X-Files, starring Carl Lumbly, who recently was in an episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier as Isaiah, one of the original the super soldiers, Mantis.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mark, you had to have watched Mantis. Come on.
Of course. I loved Mantis from what I can remember. That was way back in the day, though.
Way back. 1 or 2 seasons, M.A.N. boom, Mantis. He also was one of the main writers on The Crow Stairway to Heaven. If you remember that was the Crow TV show starring Mark Dacascos, the Capoeira King.
I just had a video, an ad pop up in my Facebook feed for a movie. It was I was scrolling and I stopped because it was, a new movie coming out. It's an action movie. And then I saw in the cast list, Mark Dacascos. I was like, oh no, I know what kind of movie this is. I kept going.
Yeah, he is. Mark Dacascos is the great value and alive Brandon Lee, essentially, is what he was. Yeah. That's pretty much what he was.
No, he's doing some big things now. He was in John Wick 3, if I remember correctly, he was the chef guy.
Yeah,
that, like,
no,
went after.
he's done good things, and he was in Woo Assassins, I think, too. Right?
He's making a renaissance. He's coming back.
We had to put up with COVID, but we're living through the Mark Dacascos renaissance, so it's almost worth it.
Lorenzo Lamas is sitting somewhere like it's almost my time.
Yeah, he's waiting for that Renegade reboot to happen.
Snake Eater 5, it's going to happen.
Dacascos. It's funny you say that. I still have not seen John Wick 3. I don't know how, because
you got to see John Wick 3.
Yeah, I really.
Did you see 2?
Look, real quick. I loved John Wick, the first one. The second one, I liked. I liked the fact that they expanded on the kind of like I feel like it's very comic booky, the backstory there. And then for whatever reason, I didn't see 3 in the theaters. And I'm looking at my collection now. I don't own it, and I keep feeling like I bought it to watch it. So I've got to watch it. I've got to check it out. John Wick 3. All right.
3 is better than 2.
3 is better than 2?
3 is better than 2.
By a mile.
Okay, because 2 was I love
2 was fine. It was fine, but no.
Here was my problem with 2. Common was great in it, right? And you had that great scene where they had that huge fight when they spilled out, they ended up in the bar and they couldn't fight anymore. I love that. But through the whole movie, they gave you this idea that Ruby Rose was going to be like this incredible like end fight for him. Like they keep focusing on her, and he stabs her in the neck or something immediately. I was like, what the fuck? You're waiting the whole movie for this big boss battle. She can't do anything right, apparently. She's not Batwoman anymore. I don't know. Poor Ruby Rose. All right. This was directed by John R. Leonetti, who, man, he actually directed Annabelle, which is kind of a bigger movie, part of the Conjuring universe. But,
wow. Okay. Yeah, that's not the same as this at all.
No, but right after this, he did The Butterfly Effect 2. Which did not star Ashton Kutcher.
I was just going to ask if Ashton Kutcher was back.
No, I don't. It might have been Mark Dacascos. I'm not sure. Leonetti was the director of photography on the first film. So there's a little bit of movement in there, he liked being a part of the first one so much he had to be part of this one. Filmed between October 96 and February 97 and filmed on location in Wales, Thailand, Jordan, and L Street Studios in England. Let's go real quick, Stu, to the cast. Usually our cast moments might take a while because we dig into what these people did, but I think we'll get through this pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people that you'll know from here. Even from the first Mortal Kombat movie, not a lot of people that you would know.
Now, I haven't seen the first in a while, but I did read, I think 4 or 5 of them were recast for this one.
I think only 2 people were the same.
Yeah, because
if I recall correctly, Liu Kang and Kitana were the only 2 actors that came back.
Because I do know that Sonya Blade in the first one was Billy Madison's teacher. Veronica Vaughn, want to touch the boobies? And it was certainly not her in this one.
So the most notable member of this cast would be the gentleman who played Raiden, James Remar, who I just recently, my wife started rewatching Dexter for like the 4th or 5th time. And I didn't realize it till she started watching it. It had been after the first time I watched this movie. And I was like, oh, Dexter's dad is Raiden.
Yep.
He's also in Django Unchained, which I'm going to be watching with you on the QT, but I have not watched yet.
Okay. All right. Yeah. He's also in Black Lightning. He's like Black Lightning's mentor. Yeah.
One of the returning actors is Robin Shao as Liu Kang. And the only other notable thing I saw that he was in was Death Race. I think he does a lot of voice acting in Death Race video games also.
Good for him. Nice hair.
Yes. Yeah, I'd kill for his hair. It's absolutely gorgeous. Also returning is Talisa Soto as Kitana, who was in a Vampirella movie at some point as Vampirella.
She is,
and I would like to see that.
She is super hot, and she was a Bond girl. She was Timothy Dalton's Bond girl in License to Kill. One of them.
Oh, okay.
They always have 2, in case one of them's a dud.
The replacement for Sonya Blade in this movie was Sandra Hess, who looks like she's most notably a soap opera actress, which makes a lot of sense. She was in 30-some episodes of General Hospital, like 20 episodes of The Young and the Restless. But as far as comic book ties go, she was also in the Nick Fury, David Hasselhoff movie.
Oh, cool. Cool.
The main antagonist of this movie is Shao Kahn, played by Brian Thompson, another guy who's done a lot of TV. He was in several episodes of The X-Files, several episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Cobra. He's the bad guy in Cobra.
Yes. Yeah.
Crime
he's like random thug in Terminator or something, or Terminator 2. I forget which one.
Terminator 1, yeah.
Yeah.
Crime is the disease. Cobra is the cure.
Was Brian Thompson the disease?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
He was the cult leader with those giant, like he had these like machete daggers, and yeah, that movie's fucking stupid. But
and the last actress I took notice of, just because boy is she chewing all of the scenery in the universe in this movie, is Musetta Vander as Sindel.
Oh yeah.
Who very dramatically points at her daughter and says, "Yes, but you will die."
Yeah.
And right from that moment, I was like, all right, she's my favorite part of this movie. She's the only person treating this movie the way it deserves to be treated.
She is essentially Mortal Kombat's Melania Trump, is how I felt. Now, I know you might not have him mentioned. I'm not sure of the actor's name, but I do know that the actor who played Jax was Saber on the American Gladiators. Guys, I gotta ask Mark. I'll ask you right off the bat, because I think we're similar in age. Saturday afternoons, man. Were you watching American Gladiators?
No, man, not at all. It seemed like a excuse to cash in on that wrestling crowd, that wrestling thing, and I tried it, but it didn't stick. It didn't stick with me. So yeah, not an American Gladiators fan.
Joey, come on, help me here. No?
Yeah, I used to watch it, but I wasn't super into it. I loved the weird spin-off and like off-brand ones like Wizards and Warriors, where it was like super serious, like they went back in time to compete in ancient times and things like that. So I did watch it though. I wouldn't say it was like my favorite thing in the world though.
Yeah. I wasn't a huge fan, but I did. It was just one of those things where like, as you got a little bit older and cartoons weren't a thing on Saturday TV anymore, it just became like wrestling and then American Gladiators, and I just always wanted to fire a fucking a fucking tennis ball cannon at somebody who hiding behind a giant like piece of foam. I don't know.
Yeah, I was always a big Zap guy, so you know.
Yeah, Zap. Mike Adamle was the announcer.
Nice.
That's our cast. You're right. She was chewing up the scenery.
Wait, as kind of a conglomeration of what we're talking about here, and this may go nowhere. Maybe it's just something that I had a fever dream of. Does anybody remember? It's kind of a cross between Mortal Kombat and American Gladiators. It was another Saturday morning show where it was like these people, and they all had these weird...
Masters.
Was that it? Was that the one with Yin Yang Man?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I remember.
I've been trying to convince Colt 45 to do a rewatch series of that.
Shit, I would rewatch that. I remember loving that as a kid. All I remember is Yin Yang Man, but I'm here for that.
Joey, can you say the title of that again?
WMAC Masters.
Wow. I've never heard of that.
Really?
World Martial Arts Champion Masters.
Yeah, it was like this weird drama Mortal Kombat American Gladiator show with these people, and they had weird superhero and supervillain identities, and they just had fights every week, and it was like one-on-one kind of. It was weird, but it was great.
It was a strange like amalgamation of Mortal Kombat, Power Rangers, American Gladiators. Yeah.
I wonder if either I just never caught that or if it's semi-regional or something. I'll tell you something I saw one time.
Did you ever speak to a girl after the age of like 13? Because you'd be ahead of me. So yeah.
I did, but I mean, I'm not bragging. It wasn't like it wasn't a full-time job. I remember me and my friends went to Baltimore to go see a baseball game in like the mid 90s. And I still remember this like it was yesterday, and it must have been hyper regional because I never saw it again. But they had like monster truck, like on TV, like on a Saturday. It was a Saturday morning. They had a monster truck thing, and they're showing it, right? But then in between the monster trucks, like crushing trucks and racing other trucks, they would have like these wrestler guys, and they would be doing like these Mean Gene Okerlund segments where they'd be like, you know, next time I see you, I'm going to cry. And me and my buddy are sitting there, and we finally came to the conclusion that they were supposed to be the embodiments of the fucking monster trucks, the personality of the truck. And saw it the one time. I'm wondering if it was like maybe like a Maryland thing, and they were trying it at a point. And then years later, I looked it up online, and I found like a description of it, and I felt vindicated because, like you said, Stu, like I thought it was a fever dream. I thought maybe this is like, what do they call that? What's the term for when you the Mandela effect, where it's like you believe something and it didn't happen? That's what I thought. So Mortal Kombat ends, and Liu Kang wins the tournament. which saves the world. I didn't see the movie in a long time, but they keep referring to the tournament and the fact that he won Mortal Kombat. Everything should be okay. It's not okay, because what's the guy's name? Kang? Was it or Shang, the bad guy? Brian
Shang
Thompson?
Tsung.
Oh, Khan.
Well,
Khan.
the bad guy from this one or the first one?
This one.
Oh, that's Shao Kahn.
Shao Kahn. So Shao Kahn and his group of like bad people suddenly show up in the very beginning of this, and they essentially tell you the plot is that, because they say 6 days in this movie 1,000 fucking times. In 6 days, the outer realm, which is the, like, I guess the Mortal Kombat realm, is going to collide with Earth realm, and it's going to take Earth realm over. There's your entire plot right there. Our heroes have to try to stop it. All right. So our heroes got Liu Kang, you got Katana. They've got to figure out how to stop this. Mark, did you get the feeling right from the beginning with like all those, like, you know, the skies changing colors and like all these effects of like people dropping to Earth and everything? Did you get the feeling that whoever was in charge of the special effects in this movie had just gotten like the newest like software and just someone just said, go fucking nuts?
I definitely felt like it was some kid in his basement who was like, oh, I can do those special effects for like $20. Yeah. And the producer was like, fine. We have a low budget. Go right ahead and do it.
Yeah, that's the winning bid, kid.
Exactly. That was the easiest, some of the worst compositing I've ever seen in special effects history. Like, it's atrocious. And it's the first like 5 minutes of the movie. So you can only go down from there.
Well, I will chime in, you guys, about the special effects throughout the entire movie. This actually just came out online, I would say, a few weeks ago as we record this. And I saw it and I couldn't stop laughing because I knew we were going to do it on the show here. And I just made you guys watch it. There had been a test screening of this movie before it was released. They did it for audiences. They showed them an unfinished version of the movie. It tested through the roof. People loved it at the test screening. I don't know what the fuck they watched instead of this, but they loved it. And the people that made the movie were like, okay, well, this is great. We got these great test scores. We're going to finish some editing things, some ADR stuff, and we're going to finish up the special effects and release this. We have a hit on our hands. And the people that made the movie were like, it tested through the roof as it is. Why even bother? And they just released it as was.
That's what I'd heard. I'd heard this movie was released unfinished.
Yes.
They just pushed it out. They didn't even care about cleaning it up or anything.
Oh, they just said, oh, fuck it. We'll just put it out as it is.
Oh, it's like, this is not a complete movie. This is...
Holy shit. I thought you meant the test screening was prior to all these terrible effects, and then they dumped them. So you're saying that what we see is what we got in the test screening?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Holy fucking shit. What, like, who is the studio? Is this New Line? What?
It was New Line, yeah.
What flavor cocaine were they ingesting at New Line at that point that somebody's I've got to know. I wonder, we'll get to the box office later because I'm not actually familiar with what this movie did, and I can't imagine it did much because there was never a Mortal Kombat 3. Holy cow. I mean, everything in this movie, it's not just like Mark said, the compositing is terrible. The sets are terrible. Like, you know, there are some impressive locales, because like I said, they filmed in these like kind of exotic places. And, you know, there's that one scene towards the end where they're outside of like that giant kind of, I don't know, like a mountainside temple that looks cool, just the setting of it. But then you get into some of the set pieces, like the Scorpion Sub-Zero scene with the ice bridge that just it looks like they filmed it in a fucking in a ghetto ass Chuck E. Cheese. Like someone just brought in a bunch of like fake foam shit, rocks and bridge effects and said, all right, just fight, right? Just fight. So our heroes get put on notice, and Raiden is and Raiden, by the way, James Remar replaced Christopher Lambert, the Highlander, who is Mortal Kombat 1's Raiden.
Apparently there cannot only be one. There can be multiple Raidens.
There could be multiple. So yeah, so he's kind of like essentially the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the group, if you want to go that way. He's there to give support. He's there to tell everybody what they have to do. And part of what they have to do is they have to get into like what I would assume could best be described as a carnival scrambler ride. you
giant hamster wheel. Yeah,
you hang up facing each other 2 inches away from each other in a giant hamster wheel and get pushed through this series of tunnels to different ends of the earth. Mark, were you excited to learn that this is a form of transport we didn't know we had on Earth.
You know, again, the special effects for this movie are amazingly bad because there's one scene where it kind of looks like it's stop motion, but it's not like a full 24 frames. It's like 4 frames per second. The wheel kind of stop, and then rolls. And yeah, and then they never really explained like why it was there and why would anyone use that, and how uncomfortable would that be if you were, you know, you were a guy and you had to take it with like Jax or or
Jax who never wears a shirt.
Why don't these people get off of that hamster wheel and immediately throw up for the rest of their lives?
Yeah, I didn't get that either. And as you said, it would be hard to get out with Jax because they established very well in this movie that Jax will fuck anything. Like every time he meets a new female, he's like, well, goddamn. and let me say again to point out on the effects, the arm effects, the whatever those are that Jax has, which I thought were cybernetic arms, but instead are just like, I guess, like Iron Man suit arms. He could take them off. They're so fucking bad looking. They're so, Stu, do you agree? Like that, like the guy's big, the guy's ripped. The guy was an actual ex NFL player. He played with, I think, the Rams and the Chargers for a couple of years. You know, not a big name. American Gladiator, fit dude. But when he's wearing those arms and then like a ripped up suit jacket, and he's walking through the desert, it just looks so fucking bad.
On the one hand, I agree. It looks bad. On the other hand, his arms were the best effect in the entire movie. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's not good, but it's the best thing the movie's got for you.
Yeah. So our heroes all separate for whatever reason, and they've got to find. Now, again, I had a hard time following this movie. I don't know if my brain was off the other day, but like, I couldn't really tell what they were trying to find. Like, I felt this movie felt to me like I was in the middle of a 4-part story. I was watching parts 2 3/4 to part 4.1. And like, I missed a whole lot of everything else. So they're on a mission to find something. I'm not sure what they're fucking looking for. We're told repeatedly that the key to defeating Khan is to get Katana and her mother back together. Right, because her mother is like a zombie of some sort. He has in his group of generals also a woman with 6 arms, and then like this fucking horse guy. He's like, he was
great.
He's one of the best parts of this fucking movie. He's like a scorpion centaur, or I don't know what the fuck he is.
And he just looks so angry all the time.
He's so pissed off at everything in this movie. And I guess I get it. He's half a horse. It's not easy. You know, it's not easy when all your friends can use a toilet and you just shit everywhere and it stinks for fucking days, right? I get that. But
I loved that guy. Motaro was hilarious. It's like the direction for him as an actor was stand in the background and flex.
Absolutely.
Look angry the whole time.
Absolutely. The scene where Khan and his crew drop out of the sky, that's literally what they do for like about a minute and a half. Is they drop out of the sky and then they're just all going, whoa. It's like watching like fucking WrestleMania. You know what, honky tonk man? You know, like you're waiting for them to fucking start like spitting that kind of shit out. So they go out and they go on their separate things. Raiden is going to find the wisdom, I think, and
he has to go get a haircut.
Yeah, he gets a haircut, and Liu Kang goes with Katana, but Katana gets abducted. Oh, we didn't even mention at the beginning of this thing, like kind of what sets everything off, like for the heroes, is that Khan kills Johnny Cage, right? Johnny Cage, who looks like less like a supreme martial artist and more like a Home Depot part-time guy. I don't know, but Johnny Cage gets his neck broke, and this sets Sonya off. Like, Sonya is like fucking pissed. I'm assuming maybe they had a relationship. I'm so confused, maybe because I didn't see the first movie in 25 years, what these people's relationships are. I thought Jax was in the first movie, but Liu Kang doesn't know.
Well, the character is, but not with the metal arms or anything.
Right, but Liu Kang doesn't know who he is when he meets him, right? He's like, who is this?
I don't know that he ever met him. Like, he's just like a cop with Sonya Blade, and Sonya Blade gets on the boat to go to Mortal Kombat Realm or whatever, and Jax stays behind. So I don't know that he's met anybody else, but he is like technically in the movie.
So he's like a setup character, like a kid.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I feel better. I do
appreciate that this movie looked at the first Mortal Kombat, said, hey, you know what the only good thing about this movie was? Johnny Cage. Why don't we just not do that again?
Who can we kill immediately? The one character people liked. All right, let's do it. Mark, was there any of these characters on their little side quests that you look forward to getting back to the most? Or were you like me and just hoping that a veterinarian would come in and put a needle in your neck and then someone would hold you while you slowly fell asleep and died? Like, what was it? What were you hoping would happen?
I was very interested in their stories. They all went out on their own separate ways. I know Raiden had to get some information. Liu Kang had to hook up with Jade, which, I'm not mad at him for that. Yeah, I guess I would say probably the most interesting story to me was Sonya Blade's story, because the actress was so bad and every situation she was in was so ridiculous. I just couldn't. I needed more. By the time she found Jax and they fought the bumblebee-looking ninja,
Hyrax.
Yeah, and then they do the slow motion dive from the explosion of the building, which is one of the best moments in cinematic history. I just love her whole story is just like ridiculous. That was the one driving force for me.
All right, yeah, I agree. She's terrible. If it wasn't for her nipples popping out of that shirt and those shorts, it might have been totally unbearable. But I'm a guy. You got me in with that.
The movie really did have a scene where they were like, just going to cover you in mud now. How's that work?
Well, and then again, it also gives you a scene where Jax like wants to fuck her. He's like, "You look good in mud." It's like, Jax, put your dick in your pants for 4 fucking minutes here. We're being chased by ninjas on horses. This can't. This is not going to be an easy situation. Joey, why again, we mentioned Johnny Cage gets killed, but why when you have a property like Mortal Kombat, which is known essentially, let's be totally fucking honest, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, right? That is kind of the thing. Like when you say DC Comics, you're going to go Superman and Batman, right? So when you say Mortal Kombat, most people you go to a impoverished village in some fucking country and you say Mortal Kombat and they're going to go Scorpion, Sub-Zero. They're going to say it, right? They know. Why do you only have them in one fucking scene in the movie?
I don't know. This movie makes a lot of strange choices. They're in the first movie quite a bit. They're not main characters. They're supposed to be like ninjas that don't talk. But yeah, I don't have an answer for that one, my friend.
And is Sub-Zero like a legacy? Because like, didn't they say in this that he's actually the brother of the prior Sub-Zero?
So here's the thing. Mortal Kombat storyline wise, even in the games, it doesn't make a lot of fucking sense. And it's... All right, this is gonna be offensive to some people. It's like because I'm a Capcom fighting snob, so it's like the white trash like cousin of Street Fighter. Mortal Kombat games we always felt were for the people that couldn't hang on the Street Fighter cabinets. So the storyline is really dumb,
Yeah.
But yeah, Sub-Zero. I think in part 3, Sub-Zero is now Sub-Zero's brother, and he has no shirt on and doesn't wear a mask.
Oh, nice.
He's got that sexy scar.
That's right. If that makes any sense, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know why you would do that. But a lot of this movie feels like ticking boxes. So they just had the roster of the game and they're like, gotta have this guy, gotta have this guy, gotta have this guy, gotta have this guy. It didn't matter if it made any fucking sense whatsoever. It gotta have animalities, gotta have this. And it didn't matter. As long as it was in there, that's all that mattered.
I laugh because like my wife, who never watches like these movies that I review with me, she'll like sit on the couch and read or something. She chose to watch this one with me. And I thought, sweet fucking shit. I've watched some fucking great movies and you've chosen not to watch them and you're watching this. When the scene came out where Sub-Zero and Scorpion were about to fight, when Scorpion comes out, I jokingly went, "Get over here," because I know that's his thing. And then he actually said it and I went, holy
immediately.
Fuck. Holy shit. Like they had to throw that in there. I also want to point out that me and my wife both were startled when I played the movie because, when you play a DVD or something, you're used to like all the menus and shit. I hit play on HBO Max and I'm sitting down to relax and all of a sudden it's Mortal Kombat. we both fucking kind of moved and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat, the first one is hilarious, especially in my family because my wife and I saw it. When did the first one come out? It was like
95.
Yep.
July 1995. We'd only been dating for a few months. So at that time, it was like, you're still new to dating. So, your wife or your girlfriend at the time says, let's do this. And you're not going to be like, I ain't doing that shit. It's stupid. So she went and saw Mortal Kombat with me in the movie theater because I was like, hey, I want to see this movie. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll go. And actually, we were still in that honeymoon phase where you can't say no to your person.
Right.
because you're trying to impress them. She loves it. She loves the first Mortal Kombat. I love the first Mortal Kombat. We've watched it with the kids. They love it. So our family loves the first Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, this Mortal Kombat is enjoyable.
Yeah. This one, because we liked the first one so much, my wife and I went and saw it in the movie theater at midnight.
Oh man.
It was a midnight release. It was not like they do now. It's not like they do now. Like nowadays, it's early screenings start at 5 p.m. You've got like some kids movies start early screenings the day before at like 3 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This was fucking midnight, like 12:01 a.m. Like you said, John. All of a sudden, it's like dun, 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 dun. and we watched this movie until like 3 a.m. It may have been a contributing factor in Jen not going to the movies anymore, but
she stayed with you though, so that's
she didn't leave. She didn't leave. We're still married. So.
You didn't leave. Still married. 2 kids. This is good. This is all good. Stu, I got to ask you. I don't know. I'd have to look it up like on, under HBO Max or, maybe through Amazon. I don't know what this is described as, but if it is described as a martial arts film, have you ever seen a martial arts film with either A, less martial arts or B, worse martial arts than this movie?
Certainly not worse. Yeah, I don't know if there are movies with less martial arts, but there couldn't possibly be one with worse martial arts because if your bread and butter is this is a fighting video game, it's literally about ninjas and warriors going up against each other in Mortal Kombat. How do you make the fighting this bad?
Yeah.
It's inconceivable to me that these are the choices you would make, but everybody makes the same stupid flips just like they do in the game where they jump up in the air, rotate 540 degrees and come back down. It doesn't make any sense. It looks terrible. And the kicks, the punches, it's all, why would you do that? You have Scorpion and Sub-Zero fighting. Just have them shoot ice and whips at each other. That's all I'm here for. If the fighting choreography is going to be this bad, you have something to fall back on it.
Have you ever seen more characters, and particularly Khan? Have you ever seen more characters flip their way into a scene before?
It's like we don't have the budget for martial artists, but we do have the budget for the local gymnastics team down the street. So we could dress them up in black and just say flip, 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 and we'll have one guy kind of do like a martial arts pose, and that's it. You can film that in like a day and everybody can go home and have a good dinner. So yeah,
I will say, Mark, when Shao Kahn's dad walked in out of a different movie,
Game of Thrones, yeah,
Shao Kahn's like, "This is glorious." I fell off the fucking couch laughing. Like, oh my god,
Shao Kahn, Brian Thompson there. He has some really great line delivery, just with his voice, which is like this, and just flipping into everything. And then as I'm reading, doing research on this movie. I read before I watched it, and then you really could tell. So there's a scene about halfway through the movie that I don't fucking know, the Mortal Kombat elder gods that Raiden goes to see essentially tell him he has to give up his immortality to save his friends. Again, none of this makes sense to me. He gives up his immortality, and then he goes from like looking like kind of like long haired with white, all the white. He's like Gandalf the White, and then he goes to like being like, I don't know, some fucking
Gandalf, the guy hanging out outside the YMCA.
Yeah, he looks like someone who's almost ready to go pro at hacky sack, and he's like one level away from like fucking going pro at hacky sack. I had read that James Remar's stunt double was Ray Park. There's the scene where when he is hacky sack Raiden, he has the fight inside the temple with a couple guys, and after reading that, if you watch it, you could totally see Ray Park. He's doing all the Darth Maul moves. He's doing like the side leg flips and everything. How fucking sad is it that Ray Park at the beginning of his career had to like do this fucking movie? Like, you know what I mean? The martial arts, that's what I'm expecting out of Mortal Kombat. I'm expecting a fantastical storyline, but some martial arts stuff. And the martial arts are like just so neglected in this film. 100%. We're rolling through this. We get towards the end, and essentially now it's going to be all these like these one-on-ones and these great fights, and man, none of them are good. Joey, is there one like battle out of all of these? Now, actually, I do want to say before we talk about the end, because it's part of it, you had mentioned animality before, and I didn't want to skip this over. Early in the movie, Liu Kang meets Thunderbird from the X-Men. And Thunderbird has like this guy is the king of the lines in this movie. Does he actually say it's my animality?
Yes,
he does. I actually had that written down. It's at one point where he's like, it's my animality. Isn't it cool?
Isn't it cool? Yeah. So he's essentially like the Native American like shaman character that's going to teach Liu Kang how to turn into a fucking whatever, a dragon.
Yeah, Liu Kang's supposed to go through all these trials to be able to prove. Again, you have to understand as you're listening to this, like while I was watching it, it made a little more sense than what it sounds like. But when you try to sit down and explain the plot of this movie, it's like a fucking fever dream. It's like you just woke up from having a like 200-degree fever and you're trying to explain your dream to somebody. Like it doesn't make any fucking sense. But Liu Kang is supposed to go on some kind of journey where he has trials to earn the right to do something.
to earn his animality.
I don't know.
His first trial was courage.
Right.
And then you don't get any other trials.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say. So he meets...
Because Jade comes along and is like,
yeah, he meets Nightwolf.
Me instead?
Yeah, he meets Nightwolf and like, I don't know, I guess he's like, goes on like a horrible racial stereotype Native American like trip. And then he's supposed to be learning his animality or something, whatever. But then like Jade just shows up out of nowhere and is like, hey, I might know a back door into the castle if you don't want to do this. And he's like, yeah, fuck this. And he just like leaves. And they never come back to he uses his animality at the end, obviously, because we see that and that's coming up. But that was it. Like, what happened to the trials he was supposed to go to? Like,
yeah, Jade lies and says she was the second trial.
Right, because that's what I thought too.
Oh, you didn't bone me. You're pure. That's the second trial.
Yeah, I thought he was okay. So if he goes with her, he's cheating the trials. So when he doesn't go with her, and not even in a sexual way, just like don't leave and try to do the easy way. You have to do the Nightwolf way, and that's the correct way. No, it doesn't have anything to do with anything. And then he still wins at the end. So what was the whole point of that?
Yeah, I think that might be the whole idea of this whole movie at the end is what was the whole point of this?
Markellus, would you rather bang Jade or learn your animality?
Oh, that's a tough one. Seeing how the CG was so great for the animality, I'm gonna have to go with bang Jade.
Yeah. Good choice.
I was going to say it would depend on what my animality was, but
yeah, I was going to say my animality would end up being like a robin or something. So.
It would be a cat, Stu. You've got several cats. You would end up turning into a fucking house cat. Now, Joey, is knowing this game, is animality a thing that's run through this game?
It's like a joke. So if you know Mortal Kombat, even on a small level, you fight one-on-one, and then at the end, it'll say finish him, and you can either just hit the person, or if you know the correct button combinations, you can pull off a move called a fatality, which is you like ripping their head off their body or pulling out their heart, blah, blah, blah. So that was the first game. The second game added animalities, babalities, friendship, all sorts of weird like Easter eggs. So animality was you turned into a monster and ate them, or babality was, you moved your hands around, the other person turned into a baby, or friendship would be like you did some ridiculous thing and they don't die. They just still stand there like, looking like they're ready to die. And you do some sort of move that's friendship. Like Johnny Cage
give them
would
a present.
Johnny Cage would pull out an 8x10 and sign it and throw it up in the air. And it'll say like, thanks for being a fan from Johnny Cage, or like Katana, like open her arms and like balloons would come out or something, But it wasn't like this main thrust of the storyline. It was just a ridiculous Easter egg. It would be like basing the entire Super Mario Brothers movie on like the warp zones.
Yeah, and I guess from what I read in a couple places, the storyline of this movie is heavily influenced or based on Mortal Kombat 3. I don't know how true that is, but that's kind of what I read a couple different places. So yeah, we get to the end and we're going to have all these great fights. Horse Scorpion is going to fight and Melania Trump is going to get in there. And essentially we get like all these like really bad little martial arts bits. Jax gets his arms ripped off, but they're not really his arms. So he's still able to fight. And Raiden teaches him, right? Like that's not you. Like
your arms, you think they're your strength, but they're your weakness.
Yeah, they're your weakness. You need to dig deep. And Shao Kahn and Liu Kang have this fight, and their animalities unleashed. And what do they each become, Joey?
Liu Kang is a dragon of some sort. what the hell does Shao Kahn become?
Was he the multi-headed thing, like the
He
Ghidorah
was
type thing?
I guess like a giant monster with 3 heads.
The effects, Mark, do you agree? Like the effects for their animality, they're offensively bad. Like they keep up with the rest of this movie. But do you agree with that?
Yeah, I couldn't even tell what they were. Eventually, it was just like it reminded me of Venom, the movie Venom at the end, where it's just like symbiote versus symbiote, and you can't really make out exactly what you're looking at. It's just globs of CG just fighting each other, and it was, and I watched it on like a big TV, and the clearest possible version that I could see, and I still couldn't make out what it was. It's atrocious. I was really glad when they kind of just fell to the ground and they were just human again. They didn't really explain.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're watching. You're like, is he supposed to be a Subway sandwich? And he's like a fucking belt sander. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. It was definitely not good. Long story short, though, Liu Kang finds it in himself to now defeat Shao Kahn. Earth Realm and Outer Realm or Outer World or whatever the fuck it's called are now going to not be one plane of existence anymore. They're going to float off and everything's good again. That's probably the most concise plot description I can give and run through Mortal Kombat Annihilation, because I've seen a lot of movies. I've seen a lot of movies in my life. I've seen a lot of movies for podcasts. I had such a hard time trying to figure out what direction this thing was going in at any one point. Let's talk a little bit before we rate this thing. Stu, let's talk a little bit about the box office. Let's talk about some of the numbers that Mortal Kombat Annihilation engrossed.
Let's do that. I have a feeling Joey will know the answer to this, so I'll just ask you, where do you think this movie opened its opening weekend? If you had to guess where you thought this movie opened, where do you think it would be? What place?
Me or
Number
Joey?
1.
You.
Oh, so Joey says number 1, and you're saying out of 10?
Yeah. Well, where do you think it opened? I mean, however many movies there were that week, where do you think it placed?
So this is November 21st. This is like right around Thanksgiving. Something better had to have come out. 7.
Mortal Kombat Annihilation debuted at number 1.
Sweet fucking Christ.
With 2,995.
Wow.
Yep. And for the week that it came out at number 10 in its 6th week was Bean.
Oh.
At number 9, 3 weeks in was Starship Troopers.
I love that movie.
At number 8.
I also love that movie.
I get a kick out of this. At number 8, The Little Mermaid in its 1997 re-release. I don't know why, but it did. Number 7, I've heard of this movie. This was its debut week, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Clint Eastwood. I've never seen it. Kevin Spacey, and I think it's like really long too, if I remember correctly.
These next two shocked the hell out of me because both these movies debuted this same week and finished less than Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Number 6, Flubber, which is a kid's movie, you would think, big built-in fan base. And number 5, again, not a good movie, but a huge built-in fan base, Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
If you would have told me Mortal Kombat Annihilation beat out Alien Resurrection, I would not have believed you. And yet here we are. Number 4, I don't know this movie. In its 2nd week, The Jackal.
Oh, Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He blows Jack Black's arm off with a robotic gun. And Richard Gere is in that. It's not really good, but
number 3 also debuted this week, The Rainmaker.
I don't remember that one.
That's like a lawyer movie, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a John Grisham.
Oh, Matt Damon, I think.
Maybe.
Matt Damon.
And number 2, in its 2nd week, and in its 1st week, it debuted at number 12, so it had a big jump. Anastasia.
Oh, that's wow. Cartoon, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's a huge jump. 12-2.
Yeah, they must not have had very many screens in the 1st week, I would imagine.
All right. What else do you have? Do you have what the year you said, Stu?
Yeah. On the year, Mortal Kombat Annihilation finished 58th, although it did get released at the end of November, so that might not quite be as bad as it sounds.
Yeah, that's pretty good for a month and a half left.
Yeah, and it grossed 35,927.
Wow.
So it did over half of its entire gross the 1st week.
At least $20 of that was Joey at 12:01 a.m. on probably November 20th, 1997.
Yes.
And just for a little bit more information, for the year of 1997, I have the top 5 movies. Number 5, another one that just kicked me in the ass, Star Wars: A New Hope.
Oh yeah. That 97 was the special editions, right?
Yeah.
Right, that ruined the release of Dante's Peak that year. Yeah.
Right. Plus, Dante's Peak ruined the release of Dante's Peak.
That's true. Yeah.
Number 4 on the year was Air Force One. Number 3 on the year was my either first or second, depending on the day, favorite Jim Carrey movie, Liar, Liar.
Liar, Liar is fucking great. I'm Jose
Number 2.
Canseco. I'm Jose Canseco.
The goddamn pen is blue. Number 2 on the year, Lost World, Jurassic Park.
Ugh.
And we'll see. Somebody will get this one. 1997. What do you think the number 1 movie was?
97.
It had its own song.
Men in Black.
Men in Black, yeah.
Yep. Men in Black, number 1.
That was fucking huge. Men in Black was huge that year. You could not get away from that movie.
Nope.
The video, fucking, it was essentially like, Independence Day was a year earlier, but Men in Black was like really the one that pushed Will Smith into the stratosphere. That's crazy. Yep.
And as a little bit of a correlation, a little bit of synergy here, Men in Black was the number 1 movie. We're talking about Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That actress I mentioned earlier, Musetta Vander, she was in Wicca Wicca Wow Wow West.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. What did she play in Mortal Kombat?
She was Sindel.
Oh, okay. When you kept saying like great value Melania Trump, I thought you were talking about Madison Ivy. That's why.
No.
I thought that Sindel had that kind of like Eastern European look a little bit, All right, let's rate this thing. Pint of Comics rules apply. We go 0 to 5. Quarter and half scale are usable, so feel free to use that. I'll start with my co-host for the episode. Oof. I'll start with Mr. Robert Stewart. 0 to 5. MK colon, as Joey and Paul from the Countdown say often. What do you give this?
I mean, it barely counts as a movie. They literally released it unfinished, so it's bad. It's real bad. The first Mortal Kombat movie is genuinely enjoyable. The Johnny Cage character is a lot of fun and actually has a somewhat decent story. Everybody involved seems like they're having fun. Everybody involved in this movie seems like they're there for the paycheck. It's just not the same at all. And yeah, because they didn't even bother finishing the movie, I don't have any qualms with giving it less than a 1. I'll give it a 0.5.
All right.
Like it barely counts as cinema.
All right, that's fair. Let's move on to we're going to end. This is Joey's pick, so we'll end with Joey. To Marky Mark, the expert. Let's find out what he thought of Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
I just want to say my favorite part of this whole movie is after, they realized that the main bad guy's dad was like corrupting the whole thing and he was evil and, they turned him into a box, Phantom Zone box, like folded him up. When the other elders are like, well, the fate of the universe will have to be decided the way it always has been with Mortal Kombat. And as the guy says Mortal Kombat, the theme starts playing. Over his voice, you just hear Mortal Kombat, and then the theme starts playing. I fucking died. That is hands down the best part of this whole movie. That being said, yeah, the CG is awful. The fight scenes are horrendous. I did enjoy some of the performances. I like Jax, and I did like Jade. I thought she was actually pretty cool. But yeah, it barely works as a movie, so I'm gonna have to give it a 1.5 out of 5.
1.5. This is the guy that gave Bloodshot 3 stars, everybody. So
I will stand by that till I die.
I have never seen Bloodshot. I'm a big fan of So Wizard, and I love that running gag. I'll go next. Yeah, this was tough. So I've been podcasting, I don't know, 6 years or so, and a good chunk of it has been spent reviewing movies. And I've seen some movies I did not care for. We do a whole series on the Pint where we talk about movies that are bad on purpose. And this was worse than any of those. And we've done Jaws 3. We've done Superman 4. Yeah, it's a martial arts movie with no martial arts. It's an effects heavy piece with terrible effects. Although Joey bringing that to light is very interesting. And it actually does make more sense. So based on that, I'm going to go up a quarter point. But yeah, this doesn't hit even a 1. This is a 0.75. It was a 0.50 based on everything else, but then finding out that it's unfinished gets the movie an extra quarter point because it's not the movie's fault that the studio execs were like on fucking ketamine or horse tranquilizer or whatever. So
based on your own scoring history, Mortal Kombat Annihilation is on the same playing field as Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah,
all right.
It's a level below Jason Goes to Hell, but Jason Goes to Hell was finished. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This thing, if the effects weren't so terrible, I could almost say, okay, well, everything else sucks, but man, that scene where the bad guys dropped in out of the sky was fucking dope. I can't say that, but maybe I could have if it wasn't for them putting out on release. So, all right, Joey, you picked it.
Well, there's two scores, obviously. There's one as a movie. So if you are not like
score
me,
and the real score.
Well, if you're not like me and you're a normal person and you just like, I want to watch a movie and you put this on an HBO Max, like this is, if you're lucky, a 0.5 out of 5. Like it's bad. Like it's really bad. And that's part of the reason why this podcast is going to sound so scattershot and like we're jumping all over the place, because there is no way to like conceptualize the story of this movie. Like it doesn't make any fucking sense. And it's just like scenes. And like with Liu Kang and his trials, like things just pop up and get disregarded immediately. Like nothing makes sense. So as a movie, this sucks. As a bad movie, this is a 5 out of 5. This is fantastic. Like, this is a fun movie to inflict on people. It's just god awful. And it's, like I said earlier, the perfect combination of disappointment and inept filmmaking, earnestly inept filmmaking. It's up there. It's one of my favorite bad movies of all time. Yeah.
All right. So what did you say you would give it though, based on movie?
Just on as a normal movie, a 0.5.
So Joey, you have,
but that does hurt his soul to say.
This is, let me put it this way. This is easily one of the lowest averages we've had in any of these. But yeah, so you guys know, me and Lloyd, Pint Comics. I don't have to tell you all where to find this, but I've got some great guests and a great co-host that I want to spend a little bit of time letting them talk about their stuff. We'll start with Stu. Stu, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the web, on the pod, all that stuff?
On Twitter at SWO Productions, on the web, swoproductions.com. I have a comic book movie podcast that comes out twice a month, and new articles on all kinds of pop culture crap on the website every single day, whether it's Sailor Moon or Pop-Tarts or whatever the hell's going on that day.
All right. Pop-Tart Quest. I'm a big fan. And Joey, Mark, you guys want to tell everybody all about So Wizard?
So the best place to go would probably be SoulWizardPodcast.com. It's the main hub. From there, you'll be able to see all of the reviews that we put up, the interviews that Adam does, our links to our Facebook and Twitter and Instagram pages, and also our links to our stores. But every episode is there. SoulWizardPodcast.com, a brand new episode every week.
Every week for 350 plus weeks.
Yeah, it's insane. And good quality shows too. I mean, these guys put out a great show. It's one of the best ones you're going to hear.
It absolutely is. And I crack up when I hear like Joey on the show. I think the most recent episode I heard was the latest. I think it was on the Godzilla vs. Kong episode, where he was talking about, and I've talked to Joey about this before privately, about how he plans out the show for months in advance. Like I literally sometimes will have 6 episodes recorded and go, what am I going to do next week? Like I literally don't know what's going to happen unless I just feel like it. And Joey and Mark and Aubrey and Adam included as well are so fucking organized. It makes me sick. But yeah, So Wizard is incredible. Please check it out. And you know what? We're ending it. Stu, do you want to say the line that Lloyd normally says to get us out of every episode? I guess you're Lloyd for this episode. So you might as well do it.
I'll be the fake Lloyd. Sure. See ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over. Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off.